Vosh from earlier, the amount of straight up homophobia I've seen from turf swerfs regarding surrogacy is insane. Oh, you mean with the Shane Dawson thing? Man, this is like a perfect storm for homophobes because there are plenty of legitimate reasons to think this is disgusting, but a lot of people are just going to use it to dump on like gays or surrogacy or whatever. Is that Shane Dawson? That's Shane Dawson. What's up? They got a surrogacy baby. Or two, I guess? I don't know who this other guy is. Isn't he a pedo? He certainly said a lot of pedo stuff. What do you think about surrogacy? It's fine. Wait, is Shane Dawson gay? Yes? The other guy is Shane's husband, Ryland, a total clout shark. Shane Dawson and Dane Shawson, yes. Who the f is Shane Dawson? Go to Google. You could have Googled it in the time it... Obviously, like, Shane Dawson's always an acceptable target to dunk on, but there are a lot of people who are going to dunk on him, and this broadly, just because it feeds into the, like, gay pedophile narrative, or, like, surrogacy is child slavery narrative, or whatever the f else, you know? So... The Shane Dawson vid is still your most viewed video, lol. Yeah, because getting a highly viewed video in cases like that has a lot more to do with just finding luck in the algorithm than it does in anything else. However, there was something to go over there, a ton of allegations. Now it's just like, oh yeah, they're a dad. So it's not a segment here, you know, not really. I don't think all criticisms of surrogacy are homophobic though. Okay, I'm sure there are some issues with surrogacy on like a structural or institutional level, but what are the issues? To my knowledge, there's not any data to suggest that there's any, like, psychological harm done to a kid to be raised via surrogacy. There's a lot of exploitation of developing countries. Yeah, but that's like a structural thing. That's not an issue with the concept of surrogacy. That's just, like, in its implementation there are issues, you know? Which, yeah, sure, it's the case for basically everything. I don't know, I'm just sure there are some. Ashkeys, what the f***? Why would you say that? I don't think all criticism of surrogacy is homophobic, though. Oh, like what? And then you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm sure there are some... Now that's a VGGer. Vosh, it just seems kind of weird paying people to get pregnant. Why? People get pregnant for free. Thing you can do. Yeah, it's just a 9-month long-term babysitting. High-effort babysitting, some might say. Don't know, just a gut feeling? Well, that's hardly a good argument, Ashcase. Basically, poor women being wombs for hire? Sure, but at that point, you're doing the same thing that people do with sex work, where they're like, I have an intuitive feeling that this is some special kind of labor that is icky to pay people for. You know, if you can pay people for any other kind of labor, I don't think there's anything innately wrong with paying people for surrogacy or sex work or whatever else. But the arguments kind of overlap. The idea that there's something sacred about, you know, giving birth, which I guess, you know, even from a humanist perspective, I guess you could argue, like, sure, maybe there is something sacred about producing a life, to whatever the f that means, but the life is produced, right? Like, that's not interfered with, you know? Like, there's no, like the baby's still born. Nothing negative happens in that. Like, I don't think the sacredness of a human being being born is like, oh yeah, now you get to be raised by the person who shit you out. That's not the part of the birth that I think is super cool. You know, it's like the fact that they're alive. They can be raised via surrogacy. Isn't it really bad for the mental health of a pregnant woman? To be fair, most work is bad for the mental health of the people involved. I mean, yeah, but they're being paid for it. It's not like they're being forced to, except in like the broader, you know, we are all forced to work because our labor sustains our life and you know. What do you think about selling your organs? I don't like the idea of selling your organs because I think that creates a very toxic incentive in a way that can like hurt or kill a person. I do think there's something distinct about organ selling that differentiates it from something like giving birth to a child, like pretty massively so. For one, if I recall correctly, surrogate mothers are paid a lot. Obviously, that would vary, but I'm pretty sure they're well compensated. Like, they're doing a pretty, like, long-term dedicated bit of labor there, you know, literally. Whereas I can see a world, I guess, where it's like, you know, every poor person has one kidney and they sold the other for like 2,000 or whatever. I guess I feel like there's a lot more room for economic exploitation by opening up the organ market than there would be for sex work or for surrogacy. Cruelty Squad NPCs in chat. True. Same as something like child labor and selling yourself into slavery. Even if it's technically voluntary, the world is better when those things aren't legal slash incentivized. Yeah. I think it's okay to put barriers on what can be done, even within the bounds of consensual choice. However, I don't like the idea of that. I think there's a difference between organ sales and surrogacy. Do you think there'd be any merit if the state giving people family money if they allow their organs to be donated to the system? Like if they die? Like if a person died and then the state would compensate the family of the person who dies for the organs harvested from them? I can still see a lot of negative incentives there, but I guess past a point, you're doing the same thing as every other thing, right? Where it's like, well, you know, can you monetarily incentivize stuff that's harmful to a person's health? And then there's kind of like a fuzzy barrier on that. You can ask people to work on an oil rig or be a lumberjack or whatever. That's pretty dangerous. I don't know. I feel like you guys are currently arguing me into being okay with organ trafficking and sailing. Is that the intention here? Are you guys trying to argue me into like a Malayan position on organ sales? Maybe. Okay, yeah. Would you support an opt-out organ donation system for citizens? Yeah, I think so. I think that by default people should be organ donors. Yeah, I think it's pretty dumb that they're not. The idea, like it seems, yeah, it just seems stupid. A lot of people need organ donations. If everyone by default was an organ donor, that would probably like immediately solve the problem. It just makes sense, you know, and you can still opt out. Like if you're of a religion or a culture where you have like a special burial preference that involves the like organs being present or what, like, I don't know, you know, you can opt out, but I think like a lot of people just never check yes because they just don't, you know. I think it's okay. So yeah, exactly. Gayfest. Just do a simple change like that, you know. Yeah, if you want to have your organs removed and put in like you know, burial jars so they can be preserved, so that your servants, which are buried next to you, can carry them with you in the afterlife. Then, you know, it just seems like all the point against organ selling seem to apply to being a surrogate. Well, all the points against organ selling and being a surrogate apply to all other forms of labor. Fundamentally, the question is, in a capitalist system, we are kind of forced to work, and a lot of people are poor, and desperate people are more likely to do harmful things to themselves in order to get the money they need. We have legally banned some things, like organ trading, for money, I mean organ selling. Selling yourself into slavery, you know? You used to be able to do that. It was called indentured servitude. You would pay for a trip to the New World with like 6 years labor when you got there. You know, we don't do that anymore. We do, however, allow lots of stuff that, you know, desperate people can do in order to make ends meet. You can sell your blood and plasma. You can work. You can physically work yourself to the bone until you die of stress. Like, that's allowed. The truth is, there's no hard line that says what is or isn't good, you know? I think most of us can agree we probably don't want poor people being incentivized to sell themselves into indentured servitude. And I don't like the idea of poor people being highly incentivized to donate their organs or die to, like, you know, money off the organ sale for the family. I am okay with surrogacy, though, because, I don't know, it kind of feels like surrogacy just isn't as bleak. Like, surrogacy is like some chick with a fertile womb gets like 50K or whatever, and, you know, then a infertile family gets a kid, and that seems kind of nice, I guess. Like, I don't think that incentivizes like a hideously negative trade the way that indentured servitude would, you know? Maybe things would change one day and like all poor women are like basically baby factories for money, and maybe like we could re-examine it. But for right now, I think, you know, it's good. Looks like the payment for a surrogate mother is like $65,000 to $85,000. That's crazy. But like, yeah. So the only issue I have is with compensation? Well, no, it's about compensation, what you're actually doing. Like, you're producing life for a family as opposed to just like selling an organ or working yourself away. Like, yeah, no, it's not just compensation. The fact that there is high compensation is, you know, notable. But Vosh, pregnancy can be really dangerous, and having a baby can leave lasting effects on mental health. Yeah, but not only does all work potentially have danger and mental health issues, but also women be having kids anyway. Not only are women having kids anyway, it's socially necessary for them for the species to continue. This isn't like slavery or whatever, or organ selling, where we can imagine a society in which there is no slavery and there is no people having their organs harvested. We always need children being produced, and this is just another kid being produced. There's no difference between a woman producing a kid for a surrogate couple or for their own family in terms of the danger to their body for the birth. The only difference is they're getting paid for it here. We're not enabling a new evil that would not otherwise be absent. This evil, the harm innate to childbirth, will always be a part of humans as long as we exist. In this case, it's just being done on behalf of another, you know, but it's not like adding anything negative. The negative utility of childbirth persists in both cases. It's just a family getting a kid, you know? Let us get the kidneys, Vosh. Okay, you guys have convinced me. I'm pro surrogacy and I'm pro organ trading. Okay? 65K doesn't seem like very good compensation at all for 9 months of growing a human. I don't know. It's a lot. It's like more than the average yearly income. And for a lot of your pregnancy, you can still do a lot of other stuff, right? Like it's not like an 8-hour-a-day job for an entire year or even for the 9 months. You know, for a few months, you're completely unaffected, except I guess for the nausea. I mean, like in terms of the baby bump, and then like the encumberment increases. But I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of money. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy. It's definitely not. Average cis man, how bad can pregnancy be? Oh, come on. I'm not saying it's easy. Can't drink? Well, you shouldn't drink anyway. Be Sigma. Postpartum? Yeah, I'm not saying it's easy, but women get postpartum depression when birthing children for their family too. Like, again, we're not creating a new evil here. Vosh, they literally vet for people who have had easy pregnancies before. That is true. Surrogate mothers aren't just any old woman. The women like sort of sign themselves up as potential surrogate mothers based on their birthable hips. Basically, if you see a fat bitch with big milkers and wide hips, it's like, oh yeah, she'd shit a baby out, no trouble. That's the one you knock up, you know, easy peasy. What are your views on mothers who breastfeed until like 10 years old or whatever? I don't know anything about raising a kid, basically, but that seems pretty weird to me. I don't know. It seems very weird, but I don't know. But that seems pretty weird. But I don't know. But it does seem pretty weird. My full set of thoughts on the issue. Have there even been, how many cases are there of like surrogate mothers dying in childbirth? I see an article of it happening from 2020, one from 2015. I'm guessing it doesn't happen that often. A couple hundred women die in childbirth every year, so we would have to do some math. It's fine. We have a conversation we need to have. We're going to converse. Do you think fertility services / treatment should be covered by insurance? No, I think they should be free at point of service, period. The idea that, like, producing life, the thing that is not only, like, socially necessary, but also necessary for states to continue. Like, listen, the United States of America will continue to remain strong whether or not you get cancer treatments. I'm sorry to say, if you die, there are more kids to replace you. The United States of America will die if no more kids are produced. If there is any kind of health care that should be just free, like no insurance, just literally no cost concern, it should be anything related to fertility care. It is insane that it's not, frankly. Like, why do you think the birth rate's lowering when it's like 30K to birth a kid or whatever? Like, it's insane, you know? Like, I wonder why people don't want to have kids. How ethical is it to choose surrogate mothers based on breedability and appearance? That's fine. If you're choosing a surrogate mother, I'm going for the most snatched bitch I could. Are you kidding me? I'm fine that some 6'2", goddamn beautiful brunette. All right, my kids are gonna come out snatched as hell. They're gonna all be blue stealing me as they get pulled out of the womb. They're gonna get yanked out by the head, and they're gonna be doing them. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not designer baby eugenics, okay? It's designer baby baby mama, all right? Surrogates don't give DNA to the kid. It depends on the type of surrogate. Surrogate means no DNA, otherwise you're just poly. I'm pretty sure you can have a surrogate mom who you impregnate normally. I'm almost positive that you can do that. Am I wrong? Does surrogate necessarily mean that the egg is implanted always as well? You're right? Okay.